What's up, everybody? Welcome to a emergency-ish kind of. Do I use ish too much? Do you think on like
No,
my my
I think
my,
it's
my content?
no, I think it's well warranted.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, welcome to our emergency-ish podcast here on for At Large Bit on the 40 Minutes Basketball Network. As shit's going down tonight, and so we're here to talk about it. Tim Daniel here as always with Taylor Berkfeld. And Taylor, let's jump right into this. I texted you today at about 4 o'clock. And I was about around there. I don't think it really matters. I sent you a tweet from Nick Coffey who said U of L has called a joint meeting today at 4 p.m. for the Board of Trustees and UFL Athletic Association. The meeting will address pending litigation and personnel matters. Also, the Chris Mack coaches show for tonight has been canceled. So that immediately was like, oh, that's not good. And then it was like a couple hours later, Seth Davis of the Athletic tweets out that Louisville and Chris Mack are getting close to a let's see here. Here's just a source has confirmed for the Athletic that Chris Mack and Louisville are finalizing a separation agreement pending board approval tomorrow. Louisville coach Chris Mack negotiating final agreements of separation per source. So we've talked a lot about this U of L team this year and how they just obviously have not lived up to expectations. They've been a complete disappointment. And now we're starting to see all this stuff coming out. And they've lost 5 of their last 6. They have some unbelievable losses that you just can't believe a Louisville team would lose. So it's not looking good. And obviously now it seems like the writing is on the wall that Chris Mack and Louisville will not be a group anymore.
Yeah, just didn't think it'd be this quick. I mean, you kind of get your sources from not sources. You can get your how people are taking this all over Twitter from Louisville fans, from Kentucky fans. We're in such a unique market that a lot of our Twitter followers are either fans of one or the other. UK fans are making fun of it. Louisville fans are shocked / wanting this to happen because the level of basketball has been bad since Mac has taken over. Barring the 2020 season, we touched on that last week, but I think that was he had a 2 or 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. If it would have happened, he had a pretty good shot to make a deep run there. But yeah, just a weird year, man. Just didn't get it done in a bad ACC. They lost last night to Virginia. A game where they had 8 points through the first 7 minutes of the game. Just a weird year. My thoughts on it. I just kind of looking back when he got hired, we knew obviously we covered Xavier. You're a Xavier fan as well. It was one of those things that we were like, hey, it's a home run hire for Louisville. They get a guy from the area. Very similar to kind of what we said about John Brannon going to UC. Kind of makes sense. A step up in the stepping stone. Just a guy that we thought would do well. But and not just us, like the whole national media thought Chris Mack to Louisville was a slam dunk, going to win.
Slam dunk, home run.
Boom. Tier 1, all this stuff you can say about it. But yeah, it's been a tough road for Louisville. Seems like they're getting some closure now on it. Just kind of leading up to now what's next for them, because this year seems like a lost cause because their non-conference losses and conference losses have been pretty bad. That makes them pretty much have to win the ACC tournament to get into the big dance. But yeah, kind of what we're worried about next is what's next. I know you'll get into a little bit of who the speculations are around the new coach, but everything's pointing towards tomorrow at 4 o'clock. They're announcing that Chris Mack will no longer be the coach.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at what Louisville looks like for the future, and they do have 3 commits for next year. They have Tay Davis, who is a combo guard from Indianapolis, plays at Warren Central, is a 3-star. Frederick King, who's from the NBA Academy of Latin America, signed at 6'10", 220 center. And they have a hard commit from Kamari Lands, who's a top 50 recruit in the country. So, that's obviously not a bad recruiting class. I think right now they are listed at 42 in the country, according to 24/7. But, now how much of that changes? Kamari Lands is obviously the prize. And rightfully so. He's an amazing talent if you've watched his highlight tapes. But now it seems like that's up in the air. It's okay. What goes on with this team right now? Because that Malik Williams clip where someone asked him if they're still listening to the coaching staff, and he said, "I don't have a comment on that," was very telling without words.
Right. I think I look at it more as a broader spectrum, or a little bit more from the further back. The recruiting, when you fire your coach, you're going to lose your recruits, right? Those are
Right.
his kids that he brings in. So you're looking at it as like, okay, we're completely rebuilding, and that's fine. With the transfer portal being the way it is right now in college basketball, whoever they hire, they can make they'll have the offseason to kind of build a roster. Now, similar, it might look like what Chris Mack did this year, which, either could be a success or it could be kind of what did his own doing. But I wouldn't worry about the recruits. If you're a Louisville fan, you're gonna. It's gonna be a complete rebuild, kind of what you truly need. You had David Paget for a year after you had Rick was gone, but you thought Mac was starting the right pieces, but it's a little bit longer rebuild than you would probably care to, have to sit through. But um, as for what's next, they got to hire an athletic director. I don't think there's going to be anything named until that's done. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's going to need some time to get that figured out. But a weird time for Louisville. But what are you hearing, or what have you seen? Obviously, who are the potential replacements for Louisville?
This is all hearsay at this point, obviously, because
Right.
he hasn't even officially been fired. But what some of the people, Dominique Yates at Real D Yates tweeted, sources tell me if Chris Mack has gone as Louisville's coach, here are some names of interest. Kenny Payne, which would be hilarious. Oh my God, that'd be so funny. Bruce Pearl, Will Wade, and Nate Oates. Not saying there's interest from, but he's told Bruce Pearl wants it badly.
No,
I don't believe that.
I don't get
believe
the
that at all.
connection. I don't understand the connection. Does he have any ties to the area? I mean, no ties to the area, right? He coached at Green Bay, and then he coached at Tennessee. Then he's got the number one team in the country right now.
Yeah, they're probably like, if I have to pick a team to win the title, I'm picking them. After the Kentucky game, which I do want to talk about the Shannon Sharp stuff a little later because that's really interesting. But yeah, I just have a hard time. And look, the way college coaches move around now, it very well could be true. When people told me Chris was going to go to Louisville at first, I was like, I don't know. And then the more I thought about it, I went, okay, that makes sense.
So let's talk it out here about Bruce Pearl. He's at a football school, obviously. No matter even the success he's having at Auburn, rich history with Barkley. They made the Final Four in 2019, number one team in the country right now. Things are rolling. It's still a football school.
Has the number one pick in the draft
in a football conference, correct? So the ACC ties could be that he's getting the money is a little bit better for an ACC coach. Louisville is a good job. You have a good city, easy to recruit, good conference. Albeit how bad it is this year, but I don't. I love to see what Lester just said, but
What's up, Ryan?
I think
Slick Rick making his comeback.
Yeah, I don't think Bruce Pearl, but you hit it right on the head. College is a wild card right now. People leave left and right. Kenny Payne, I give that like a 2% chance to happen. I don't think he would come back from left Kentucky where he had a easy situation with Cal as his right hand man, as lead recruiter, everything you need to be there, and then goes to the NBA to work with Tibbs and Worldwide West and all them. So I can't see that happening. Will Wade, I could see actually, just
I could too.
Situation like I said about the SEC. You're kind of in a football conference that he's at LSU where they just spent the Brinks truck on Brian Kelly. So, but I could see him. But it would be very funny that Louisville, in a FBI investigation with NC State, with Kansas, with LSU, with Auburn as well, USC, all these schools that they're looking at hiring two guys that were in the same investigation that Rick was in. I could see it with Will Wade just being, although like, hey, LSU's just kind of like, all right, we're kind of done with this chapter with him. And they move on from him. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I think a name to watch out for right now is Kevin Willard from Seton Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Oh, God. Could you imagine if Mick would have never left Cincinnati?
Oh, my gosh. So many opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny how it works out. Like, or Wes Miller, look at him. It wouldn't have left UNC Greensboro. Louisville would have been a great spot for him to potentially get his feet wet at a big job. So it's funny. Every year we start the year, we don't know how the college basketball season is going to play out, but things happen, crazy things, firings, departures, retirements. So it's a never-ending carousel. But I'm very excited to see where Louisville goes from this. I was never a big fan of Chris Mack personally, just like him as overall. But that's everybody has their opinions. I kind of thought he was a little bit more arrogant than he probably deserved to be. But I think the biggest red flag for me was when the Dino Gaudio situation happened, and he tried to go to the FBI and all that bull crap and sold his boy out, had a mic on. Like, it's just everything was wild about that. And there were some red flags there that just showed maybe he's in over his head here at Louisville. So
you know who Kamari Land's last visit was before he committed to Louisville?
Who?
Arizona State.
Oh, well, they're going to need a head coach still.
Yep.
My
So
man needs to find a program that that has
here,
some stability.
here are the schools he was interested in that also offered him. So Louisville, he obviously hard committed, signed his LOI on January 1st. Arizona State, Syracuse, DePaul, Kansas, and Memphis were his top schools.
So one school is going to make the tournament.
One school has a coach that's like promised to be the coach next year. Actually, DePaul's coach will stay there too, but he's not going there.
Yeah,
I'd be amazed.
I'd be amazed. Actually, pretty well, even though they struggled.
He has. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about what this little team is right now. We've talked about this all year, obviously, but to kind of catch people up on what is necessarily going on the court besides the drama of the Chris Mack circumstance. Let me try to find a team I'm trying to pull up KenPom.
While you bring that up, to bring back Ryan's comment, I would be all for Rick Pitino coming back.
Yes.
I mean,
Same.
I don't think they would, just because you don't hire the guy back that you fired because of the NCAA investigation.
Yeah, this isn't the Raiders.
Right. Correct. So, yeah, very good. But it would be awesome. But no chance. I would love Ricky P back.
I would too. So right now they are 11-9 overall through 20 games. They're 62 overall in defense on KenPom, defense efficiency. They're 186 in the country in offense on KenPom and offensive efficiency. Effective field goal percentage, they're 217th. And offensive rebounding, they're 236th. 3-point shooting, 246. You get the gist. It's really bad. So here is their last 6 games. So they lost. Actually, let's go back to conference play. They beat Wake Forest. It looks like things are looking up. That's a good basketball team. They beat Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh. Close. We're kind of like, oh man, I don't know. They should have beat this team by more than they did. Then they go on that 3-game losing streak where they lose to Florida State, NC State, and Pitt. And the Pitt game, and they're like, okay. So they go beat Boston College, who's not much. And then they lose to Notre Dame.
On Russ Smith, they lose on Russ Smith retirement day. I bet.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Responsible amount of money on Louisville, because I was like, listen, this is a perfect get right spot. And Notre Dame made 14 threes right in their face. Just embarrassing. Go Irish.
Yeah. And here's what they have coming up: Duke, North Carolina, Syracuse, Notre Dame, and Miami.
I saw a tweet today from a kid I follow about North Carolina, Tarko Illustrated. He was talking about how Chris Mack getting let go, and he said not looking good for UNC's potential opponent in next week. And I'm like, is that a bad thing? I was like, I would think more if you fire your head coach, they're going to quit. Now maybe they rally behind the Mike Pegasus, the associate head coach that they're appointing. Maybe let's see how they look against Duke on Saturday. If they're fired up and ready to play and they play hard, then yeah, maybe UNC has their work cut out for them. But my overwhelming takeaway was that hey, he's not going to be there, so it'll be pretty dead, and I can't imagine the fans are going to be rocking the house for a mediocre Carolina team. So I'll be at the game, which is going to be funny.
Will you?
Yeah, I'm going next Tuesday. We found tickets pretty cheap, and I understand why, because they're hot ass host Carolina. But I was listening to 3-Man Weave, and they were talking about this is the lowest right now. Louisville's on pace to finish the lowest on KenPom since 2002 when Denny Crum was the coach in the Conference USA. So tough year for Chris Mack.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you? Sorry, we'll continue about other. What do you think he does from here?
I don't know.
When he leaves Xavier, as a number 1 seed, loses in the tournament, he left right after that year, right?
Yeah. So they lost to Florida State, and he basically took the job, I think, 2 weeks later.
Okay, right. So takes a job. Wife from Louisville has to think, okay, this job is setting me up for long-term success here at Louisville. Like my rest of my life might be coaching at one program. And 4 years later, he's out. What do you think? Do you think he's a TV guy for a little bit? Because he will coach again.
Yeah, he definitely will coach again. I just think that's in his blood. And I do think Chris is a really good coach.
So do I. I think he's I just think the Louisville fit. And it's hard because you see Calipari and you see what he does and you see how he runs the state and runs college basketball. And you think, okay, well, we're a similar program in the same state and we're their rivals and I have to act the same way. And sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. So continue. Do you see him going back to a Power 5 job? Because I definitely do. I don't think he's taking a mid-major job and stepping down.
I don't think so. No, I think he's going to stay in he's definitely going to have his name come up. I mean, if you look
For
at major
sure.
jobs. So like Nate Oates is probably going to be recruited heavily to take a big job and leave Alabama. So that's something that could catch Chris's interest.
I mean, look at Shaka Smart, gets fired from
Yeah,
Texas, right? And then goes to Marquette and is
and they're
killing it.
great. They're
Killing
awesome.
it.
They're so good.
Shaka. I mean, yeah, we'll continue about him, but that's what I'm thinking. Do you think he's a coach next year, or do you think he takes a year off?
I think he coaches next year.
Right. I think a mid-season firing is a way of being like, listen, I'm gonna get myself in check for the rest of the year. My agent's gonna be reaching out, and I'll have a job come Final Four. And you'll see him out on the recruiting trail wearing a X, polo, wearing whatever, not an X polo, but a random team's polo.
Yeah.
So
because there's going to be D1 schools. I mean, there's going to be major
Arizona
D1
State,
program.
Syracuse isn't gonna be open. Arizona State,
Memphis, Chris Mack to Memphis. Let's go ahead and mark it in.
Gross. So,
Remember? Yeah, I'm kidding, but there's a lot of opportunity. He's gonna get offers. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see how it plays out for him because I do want to see him somewhere on the sidelines next year. I really thought that it was gonna be good, man. I really thought it was gonna work. Like when he did the whole thing with they were battling over scheduling the Kentucky game. And he did a whole video about like whatever John wants, we'll do. That was awesome. And I was like, all right, I'm in. And Kentucky fans were like, great. We have a reason to hate him. And remember he did that video with Eric Wood about how Kenny Payne was the reason Kentucky beat Louisville all those years.
That was like a private video that leaked, right? That they sent it to Kenny Payne. That 100% Kenny was like, I'm texting this to Matt Jones, and that's getting out there. Like, yeah. I mean, he's defeated Kentucky in their last game. So it might have been Kentucky's worst team in 100 years, but hey, he goes out a winner against Kentucky. So what a world, man. I can't believe he's fired. We knew it was coming. I mean, we kind of joked about it all year, being like, he's getting canned. Every loss, we'd send a text to each other being like, man, he is. And the Malik Williams clip was the final nail in the coffin, right? They're not playing for him. They're not playing together. Last night, he was just he didn't even stand up most of the game. He's kind of just sitting on the bench, like talking to his assistants, like. But loses Dino, loses Luke Murray, like.
Yeah, man. I mean, Lewis, like a lot of his staff, there was some rumors going around for a while that John Brandon might have been joining his staff, and that was something that people were talking about, and that obviously didn't end up happening.
What a world, what a few years for Cincinnati and Louisville, our Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, because you remember they agreed to a home and home? Mm-hmm. Louisville, Cincinnati agreed to a home and home. I was stoked for it. And then obviously both coaches are gone at that, a year later. So yeah, man. And Cincinnati lost to Temple tonight.
I know. What the hell? I'm getting calls from my fiance's dad, diehard UC fan. He just said, Wes is not a good coach. 2 timeouts and your boy drew up shit in there. I'm like, listen, let's relax on the talent that maybe he's on the roster before we start attacking my guy over here.
I'm gonna get in trouble on that because I did Alex Meachin's podcast that's going out. It's going out today, the day this is going up. The Bearcat basketball podcast, and he asked me, he said, "You should Cincinnati beat Temple?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, they should run them off the floor."
Mm-hmm. And they were. I had them. I took Cincinnati -4.5 tonight, and they're covering all game. And then, so get my gambling frustrations out here. So
Northern Kentucky got a nice win today over Wright State. So
they're good North. Sorry.
Yeah, and then we got Xavier Providence tomorrow, so that'll be a good game. Before we get into kind of a few other things, talk about some other games. And if anyone's listening or watching, whether you're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, anything, feel free to let us know if you have any questions about the Mac situation. We definitely see you guys are tuning in. We appreciate it. I want to talk about this whole Shade on Sharp thing because this is fascinating. This is like the good version of Randolph Morris, if you remember that whole debacle. Mm-hmm. So Shade on Sharp, who went to Kentucky early because he graduated from high school early. We found out because of his age and the length he'll be out of school, is eligible to enter the 2022 NBA draft. And as soon as that popped up, where Mike Giovanni from Draft Express put that out, he immediately flew to like the top 5 everyone's big boards. Now, there is some conversation going on about, Shadon right now can practice with the team. He is practicing. He's literally eligible to play, but has not played yet. But now Ty Washington's out, so maybe that kind of puts some more, Kentucky fans want to see him play. John Calipari was advertising him to play, get to the game early, see him in warmups with the team. Like, they know what they have here. And, you can speak to it better than I can about this kid's tremendous. I know how good he is. But you've been covering UIBL and AAU. You've seen him a little more than I have. So what do you think about all this? Do you think that he's going to test those waters? Do you think, it's hard to walk away from being a top 5 pick, but in his case, he's either a top 5 pick now, but he's the number 1 recruit in the country for next year's class. So he could be the number 1 pick next year. Isn't that kind of like this weird?
2 words, Imani Bates. That kid should never play a minute of college basketball this year. Shaden Sharp should never play a minute of college basketball this season. Look at Imani Bates, number 1 recruit for next year's class, albeit Sharp and Bates would have been 1-2. Reclassifies early. Now has to play 2 years of basketball before going to the NBA. And Imani's been terrible this year, as saying it nicely.
Rough.
Yeah, I mean, so if I'm Sharp, you have a guaranteed top 5, top 10 pick in the bag right now, and you come out, I would not play a minute. Sorry, I don't think it's worth. Because if he does play and he's bad, then he has to come back next year. He costs himself millions of dollars, dropping from a top 5 pick to mid first round. Look at Michael Porter Jr. It's another guy that I look at.
Oh,
Number
yeah,
one
it's a
recruit
good
in
one.
the country, goes to Missouri, not fully healthy all year. DeConzo Martin kind of forces his hand, makes him play, and then he ends up dropping to, lottery. Now he's worked out in the NBA because he got healthy and, he's a good player. But
got hurt again. And
right. But
signed $100 million and got hurt.
Yeah, the Nuggets, they've got a lot of issues going on here. But
Yeah.
I think Sharp is good enough. I think, if you're a UK fan, you obviously want him to play because I think he elevates your potential to win the national title.
Oh, yeah.
Makes
Absolutely.
you a clear-cut favorite because you got Ty, you got Severe Wheeler, you have Oscar, you have Keon, but you're taking minutes away from Jacob Toppin, and you're taking minutes away from Collins, who's a good player, but Sharp's better, and that's kind of just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, unfortunately. But I think Sharp's good enough to elevate you to the national title picture. He's another shooter with Grady out there. He's a slasher. He can attack. Spacing is going to be great with him out there. But if I was him, if I'm his agent, if I'm his parents, he's not playing a minute college basketball.
Yeah, part of me definitely feels like he graduated early for the NIL cash, which do it. Make your bag, my man. I do see where you're coming from, and selfishly as a fan, I do want to see him play. But I think your points are 100% accurate.
If he's gonna, sorry, but not to cut you off. If he's gonna play, it needs to be before the tournament. You can't just roll him out there in March because then you're gonna have
Michael Porter Jr.,
a guy who's gonna be trying to get his, and then also messing the flow up of everything else. So,
yeah, I agree. So it's unbelievable. It's cool. Like, it's a neat story. I would definitely love to see him play, but I totally see where you're coming from. I think your Imani Bates comparison is spot on. So now that those two are out of that class, is Amari Bailey the number 1 guy in that class now?
Yeah, he was like rated number 1 as like an 8th grader, then dropped a little bit, now back up. Yeah, I think he's solid. I've seen him play at
He's
UYBL,
good.
and I think he's very good.
Yeah.
His mom's dating Drake, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're at LA Dodger Stadium. Yeah, those Sierra Canyon kids, I'm over all that shit. Sorry, it doesn't.
I'm with you, man.
Drake's pulling up, Drake and LeBron, and they're freaking LeBron makes a jump shot, and they fall over, and they're dancing on the court. I'm like, get this out of here. Sierra.
Yeah.
I knew Sierra Canyon was in trouble. Listen, I'm pointing at the camera. I'm pointing at everybody. I knew Sierra Canyon was in trouble when Dwayne Wade's kid, Zaire
Wade.
Her acting like he's the next prodigal son. Now he's playing for the Jazz G League team because Dwayne Wade owns half the team, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, his offers were DePaul and Nebraska. And I'm like, and they're like, no, this is DePaul and Nebraska. I'm like, got it. I got everything I need to see here. I watched like 2 minutes of a Sierra Canyon game, and I was like, that guy's not very good. So
yeah, Dwayne Wade was like apparently like had reports where he was really mad at the high school coach, and I was like, I don't want to be that high school coach because I can't imagine like Hall of Famers like bitching at me and like whatever, man.
You'll get fired the next day for something random. You can't even control.
Right.
So
yeah.
Kind of moving on here. I think we'll touch a couple games that happened today. So Tuesday night, if you're listening, Alabama lost at Georgia tonight. So time.
Put in context.
Yeah.
Georgia's not good.
Yeah, very bad. I'm going to pull up the SEC basketball standings.
Yeah.
Alabama now moves. They are. Wow, hold on. Sorry, they're so low. I have to open another browser.
And Auburn's tied with Missouri at halftime right now.
Mm-hmm. At the classic letdown spot.
Yep, total trapper.
Yeah, that's win your biggest game. We can touch Alabama. I'll touch Auburn, Kentucky after this. Alabama's 4-4 in the SEC, 13-7 on the year. Were we overrating Alabama at the beginning of the year, or is this kind of what their system will lead them into if you live and die by the 3?
They definitely live and die by the three. Look at JD Davison for the prime example of that. He actually had a pretty good game: 7 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. I
What
like
did
that kid a lot.
Shackelford do?
20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 of 10 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3.
Isn't it crazy? Like 6 of 10 from the field, 6 of 9 from 3.
They were up 6 at halftime and lost.
Final score?
They lost 82-76.
No defense on a bad Georgia team.
Alabama teams not be able to play defense against Georgia? What year is this? What sport are we playing here, folks?
Yikes. That's a bad loss. I mean, that's a
bad loss.
That takes you off the three seed line. Now you're looking at 4 or 5 seed probably.
I saw them somewhere today as like a 7 seed.
Holy cow! Imagine playing them as a 2 seed the next round. That's disastrous. Yeah, we don't. I mean, obviously, don't want to spend too much time on that. It just shows how volatile college basketball really is. Kentucky and Mississippi State are 18-13 right now, with 10 minutes left in the first half. Lance Ware just absolutely demolished Garrison Brooks on a foul. But anyway, sorry.
I'm listening to you, but I had the Lakers game on the side of my television. LeBron just had 2 fast break dunks, so I'm sorry my attention went away for a moment. It was just incredible.
I just got a text message. Somebody said, "I know you hate him, but LeBron is playing some of the best basketball of his career." So very convenient timing that he's going off right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thanks,
it just
Bron.
shows how college basketball is. It's up and down all year. Good teams lose. I wouldn't say Alabama's a good team, but the best team in the SEC is in the state of Alabama. But they're coached by maybe the future Louisville Cardinal head coach. That is Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. They defeated Kentucky on Saturday in probably the game of the day, right? The most talked about game leading up to it.
Yeah.
But kind of want to get your take on it here because I'm actually going to give Kentucky some credit here, something I rarely ever do.
I am too.
Their 2 losses this year on the road, right? One at LSU, one at Auburn. And they struggled at Texas A&M. So
they lost to Notre Dame.
Yep, and I'm talking in conference play, but yes, at Notre Dame as well.
Okay. I'm picking up
3 losses on the road out of their 4. I think who's their 4th loss? All Duke and Madison Square Garden as well. But at 2 losses in conference play, 1 to LSU, 1 to Auburn, both on the road. Both of those games that they lost in conference play, Ty Washington got hurt and didn't return for the second half, and Severe Wheeler got knocked out on a screen against LSU and knocked out on a screen against Auburn. Now, the Auburn game was late in the second half. So if you watch the Auburn-Kentucky game, you'll notice that, Ty had a great start to the game. UK was up 9. He gets hurt. Auburn makes a storming comeback. Close game at halftime, and Auburn ends up, extending the lead late and winning. Auburn celebrated like they won the national title after the game, taking their shirts off, flexing in the student section. Now, they were doing that because Bruce Pearl and Auburn basketball did that at the Iron Bowl. So the football team was in attendance. They're kind of doing like a mutual respect thing back. But a lot of UK fans are, shitting on Auburn, celebrating all this and that. You can't say you're the best program of all time, do all this, do all that, and then be mad when teams celebrate against you, right? Like, just part of it. If you're that good, you're a good program like Kentucky is, they're going to celebrate. It's the first time Auburn's been ranked number 1 in the country the entire time of its program. They knew that if they won that game, they were probably going to celebrate as well. But just kind of a great game. I think Jabari Smith, we've talked about it. He's my number 1 pick in the draft. Walker Kessler has emerged as a rim protector, just elite finisher. Wendell Green's a great shooter. Katie Johnson's awesome. Like, this Auburn team has a lot of pieces that can kind of, space you out and attack you in the basket. Remind me of Florida State teams because they're so long and physical. But really in on this Auburn team. Just kind of excited to watch them going forward. They are tied with Missouri as of right now, but I'm sure they'll coast in the second half. Kind of wanted to get your takeaways and what you thought about Kentucky Auburn Saturday.
If I had to pick a team right now to win the title, I think it's Auburn. I just really they have everything. They have all the pieces. The skill set. I think Kessler and Jabari Smith are going to give these guys so many like things that other teams don't have. As far as like, there's those bigs, the rim protection, the shooting. I mean, Walker Kessler can shoot threes like pretty impressively.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So seeing those two together just kind of gives them this dynamic that not many teams have. Bigs like that who can shoot threes and stretch the floor. Yeah. And also rebound. I saw some people try to compare Jabari Smith to Evan Mobley, and I'm not there just yet. I do think Jabari Smith is going to be tremendous in the NBA, but I mean, I think Mobley's going to be the fucking MVP at some point before he retires.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So that's I'm not there just yet, but I do think that he's very impressive, and the skill set you see is very surprising. If I'm Bruce Pearl, I don't know if I leave this because he's going to be able to build off this, especially in the SEC where it's a really, really good basketball team. So it was cool. But But yeah, I thought Kentucky played really well. You could tell, like, when they got out in front on defense, it was really impressive how they just kind of forced Auburn to a half-court offense and really kind of made them, change everything up. Where Auburn's so good in transition, and Kentucky did everything they could to get out of there. Auburn just was better, and especially being out Washington, that hurt Kentucky a lot. So I thought it was a great game. I thought both teams really, played awesome. I'm excited to see that game if that game is the SEC championship. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, my dad and I were talking about it tonight. Just so it sucks that it's not a home and home, right? It was Kentucky at
Right.
Auburn. Auburn pretty much can coast to the SEC title, regular season title. Pretty much, they play Alabama at home. They've already got being at Alabama out of the way. They don't really play a lot of tough games rest in the SEC. Now they might get slipped up a couple times, but they have such a big lead right now that, especially with Alabama, with Kentucky, with LSU losing some games, like they're beating up on each other. That or Auburn should coast to the regular season title. But yeah, I think this team can win it all, like you said. Very excited for the SEC tournament. But that's what's crazy about the SEC tournament. I would love to see Kentucky and Auburn play again, but with all the good teams like Tennessee, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, who knows if they're both going to make it there? So we might not get that rematch that everybody wants to see, and that's a shame for college basketball fans. So, lastly, another game I want to talk about happened last night. It was a late one. It was the 9 p.m. tip. It was Kansas taking on Texas Tech in a great game. 94-91. Kansas wins in double overtime. Ochai Agbaji for Kansas had 37 points. He was 7-12 from 3, 13-23 from the field. Just, a guy who, that is, if you're looking at why you should stay in college to improve your draft stock, he is a perfect example. Came in as a freshman, averaged 5 or 6 points a game. Now as a junior, just absolutely killing it. Just a lethal assassin from 3, working his way up the NBA draft ranks. Saturday we get the SEC Big 12 Challenge. We get Kentucky going to Lawrence at Allen Fieldhouse. Game is going to be absolutely insane. So very excited for that one. Can't wait to watch that. Kentucky's guards versus Kansas's guards. Agbaji versus, wow, Deontay Allen just absolutely threw one down. Sorry, just kind of lost my train of thought.
But, dude, too much basketball going on during emergency podcast time.
Right, but yeah,
I understand.
Kentucky, Kansas is going to be awesome. Very excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited for that game.
Allen Fieldhouse should be rocking. Saturday is a great day of hoops. We can kind of preview that here at the end. But my biggest takeaway is, Texas Tech, Mark Adams and the Red Raiders, they are legit, man. Their really defense is stifling. They get in the passing lane. They, they play that kind of a pack line, / perimeter defense where, they trap you in the corners, make you make tough skip passes across the lane to get open shots, and you have to be really disciplined with the ball to beat them. Terrence Shannon is a guy who didn't have a great game. He was 1-10 from the field, 0 of 5. I still think he's dealing with his injuries, but Kevin O'Banner, Marcos Santos Silva, this team is really talented. Bryson Williams was a guy who averaging 13 points a game this year, but he had 31 last night, and just absolutely was cooking Kansas, cooking Randy Martin, cooking Jalen Wilson, whoever they were throwing at him. He was kind of just doing whatever he wanted. He was 14 of 19 from the field, which is pretty efficient in my book.
Yeah,
so
pretty solid.
Agbaji hit a 3 at the overtime to send it to double overtime, and just a really tough place to play as Allen Fieldhouse, and Bill Self continues to win there. So Texas Tech, I think they're really high. I think they're a team you can buy low or buy pretty low in stock right now with maybe to win the national title. I know that sounds crazy, but I think their defense is stifling enough that can cause problems. And if they can put up 92 points to a team that struggles to score offensively, I think, you're looking at a team that can make a run in March. They're built for it. So, we can, I don't know if you want to touch on the Big 12 SEC Challenge, which is this weekend. I can kind of pull those matchups up real quick. But did you have any other games maybe from this week that you wanted to hit on?
The only run I really wanted to touch base on was and this is going to be my All-American for the week is coming from this game. Okay. Is I want to talk Loyola Chicago and Missouri State. So Missouri State beats Loyola Chicago, who is number 22 in the country at the time. At home, goes to Loyola and wins 79-69 behind Isaiah Mosley's 40.8 rebound game. So for those of you who don't know much about Isaiah Mosley, he is a junior, and right now he's 21 years old. He averages 21 points a game, and he has had multiple games this year like this where he's had. So he follows up Loyola last night and scores 25. Illinois City had 24. Valparaiso had 32. Southern Illinois had 33. Northern Illinois had 43. So he's on a tear scoring right now. Loyola is probably going to win that conference. Obviously, they're, a really good mid-major program who, major, I am pretty sure pretty soon major conferences when they're doing their alignment are going to try to get them to go to wherever they are.
Well, they're in the A10 now.
That's right.
Yeah, they just announced that earlier this year. So I think that's a good fit. And then
that is a good fit.
The MVC got UIC Chicago from the Horizon League to replace Loyola as a Chicago president. So that's pretty good filler as well.
Oh, I totally missed that news. So
yeah, that came out like earlier last week.
I love watching UIC because they have the worst uniforms in college basketball. So when
they
come
have a
to
great
NKU,
facility. Have you ever seen their basketball?
No,
and like
I've seen them on TV, but
unbelievable. Like they have like it's like a pool and like basketball. Like it's very high tech and very like. Why does a Horizon League team have this nice of an arena? And question now that we don't have to worry about now that they're in the MVC. But yeah, Loyola is awesome, and Missouri State is another the Valley. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, I said I'm a big fan of the Valley. I'm a big fan of the Summit League, and like is it the most appealing basketball? Absolutely not. But I think these teams are. They're legit, like Bradley and Loyola and Drake and Creighton used to be in the MVC. Like these are teams that like when you watch the Missouri Valley tournament, which is always a standalone tournament, it's always the week before. They start the week of like the final week of the regular season. So it's always fun to watch that. Loyola is a team that Denzel Valentine's brother Drew is running now. Just a great coach, was an assistant there, very young guy that I think he's going to make some noise and continue that success that Porter Mosier had. So, but yes, Missouri State is another good team that could make a run here in the MVC. We talked about this earlier with the Big Ten ACC Challenge. We love how the Big 12 SEC Challenge is later in the year in January. They kind of when teams are kind of hitting their stride. Some teams are low, some teams are high. Here are the matchups for this Saturday. Starting with. We have Baylor at Alabama, a team that really needs a win that after coming off an embarrassing loss to Georgia. This could be a big game for them. You got Missouri at Iowa State. Iowa State kind of gets a freebie game because of how bad they were last year. Missouri's kind of bottom of the barrel in the SEC. Kentucky at Kansas, probably the number one marquee matchup of the day.
Yeah.
Kansas State at Ole Miss, kind of a throwaway game in my eyes. Oklahoma at Auburn. That's a tough draw for Oklahoma. Especially with Auburn finishing a little bit lower in the standings last year because of the self-imposed ban. But another opportunity for Porter Mosier to kind of just build that resume out for him. You get Oklahoma State at Florida. Florida team that needs a couple wins after losing at Ole Miss. LSU at TCU. TCU is kind of sneaky good.
I like that game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a defensive battle and going to be really a kind of grinded out game. You get Tennessee at Texas. Another great game. That's an 8:00 game right after Kentucky, Kansas, Mississippi State at Texas Tech, and West Virginia at Arkansas. So, absolutely love the challenge this week. Would love that's something you set your schedule around Saturday, kind of lay around the house on the couch watching some Big 12 SEC basketball. I think it's gonna be really fun to watch. So, other than the Kentucky Kansas game, I'm very excited for the LSU TCU game and the Texas Tennessee game. I think they're very good contrasting styles. Can't wait to watch those matchups. So.
I'm stoked for West Virginia, Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Fast-paced game. West Virginia, and this is kind of my closing point before we get to our All-American things, All-Americans of the week. The Big 12 is just the Big 12 is beating itself up this year, right? Like, so many teams are losing. They lose the home game or the away game, and they win the home game. And, like, you're going to get teams that the Big 12 can get 6, 7 teams or 5 or 6, 7 teams out of their 10-team league in the tournament just because of the quality wins that they're going to be racking up. So West Virginia has dropped 3 straight. They lost to Kansas, they lost to Baylor, and they lost at Texas Tech, right? They lost 2 and 3 on the road. But if they turn around and rack up some of those wins at home against a Texas Tech, against a Kansas, then you're looking at a team that's going to easily make the tournament as a 4, 5, 6 seed and a dangerous seed at that. So I think Kansas is the cream of the crop in the Big 12, as it has been for most of our lives, honestly. Baylor, defending national champions last year, top 5 teams still. But I really like this Kansas team. And I think their guards with Remy Martin, Christian Braun, Ochai Agbaji, like I think they have so much depth there that they can kind of throw a lot of things at you that I think Kansas can be the clear-cut leader in the Big 12.
I agree. I think Kansas does beat Kentucky. I think the fact that it's at Allen is going to make it a big deal. That's a great atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Kentucky's going to play really well.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky wins.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I had to pick one right now, I'd pick Kansas. But if Ty Washington does play, that just brings up a whole different dynamic for
Right.
Kentucky.
Not playing as of right now in the Mississippi State game, but I think they're resting him to get him available for that game. The biggest thing for me with Kentucky, Kansas, Kentucky is a really hot, streaky shooting team at home. On the road, they've struggled. Think about the Texas A&M game. Think about the Auburn game. They couldn't find a lot of shots to fall, so they got to get hot quick in Allen Fieldhouse to kind of silence the crowd. But
Yeah,
yeah, very
exactly.
excited. Big weekend of college basketball. ACC, you kind of got some good matchups this weekend. North Carolina State. Virginia Tech, Miami, which is a good game. Duke and Louisville. Not the most marquee matchups compared to other conferences, but
Especially
Carolina,
now.
yeah, Carolina, we'll touch on them. Obviously, my favorite team. Try not to be too in depth about a mediocre team this year, but back-to-back losses at Miami, at Wake Forest, embarrassing styles. Their next 5 games, so they beat Virginia Tech last night by 10. They play Boston College tomorrow. So the Virginia Tech game got rescheduled because of COVID. So they have 3 games this week. They play Virginia Tech on Monday, Boston College tomorrow night. A nice, should be an easy layup kind of a game, but you say that and it might be a close game. And then they play NC State Saturday, right? So then they go next week. They go at Louisville on Tuesday, and then next Saturday they play Duke at the Dean Dome. So already at the first matchup of the year, Duke Carolina. If Carolina can rattle out 4 in a row, they're 3 in a row now after beating Virginia Tech. They can handle business against Boston College, handle business against NC State, and handle business at Louisville. You're looking at an 8-3 team going to the ACC against a Duke team, top 5 team in the country. If they can pick off that win, I think they're firmly on the right side of the bubble for the rest of the year. But the biggest thing with them has been consistency this year. So they've been Jekyll and Hyde away from the Dean Dome. So I'm very anxious to see how they play at Louisville. But you remain higher on this team than most in Carolina still. I don't know if you're still holding on to that stock, but I think they're 8-0 when Caleb Love scores more than 20 points. When he doesn't, they struggle. I think he leads the team, and if he's selfish with the ball, if he's not strong with it and commits turnovers, then we're bound to lose. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, all my UC people are very upset with me when I say that they better hope Hubert Davis stays at North Carolina. They do not like when I make that comment.
And it's crazy. I was talking about that, right? I after the Bengals won, I may have had a drunken tweet about I was celebrating the Bengals' victory over the Tennessee Titans. North Carolina lost by 22 at Wake Forest. I may have tweeted, not going to confirm nor deny it. I may have tweeted, I can't believe North Carolina hired Hubert Davis over Wes Miller, and then put LOL after that. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I said, anyways, who day? But yes, I really think if Hubert does get canned in 2 or 3 years, I think Wes stays in Cincinnati. I do. Mm-hmm. I think he's committed there. I think leaving after 2 years would be it would be to return a place that you probably never leave if you're successful, but I could see him staying. But let's not worry about that. Hubert's going to right the ship. Carolina's going to get on a roll this year. We're going to figure it out.
And Wes is going to be really good in a couple of years.
Yeah. But he's under 40, so who cares? We'll get him back when we win him. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll kind of hit on our All-Americans of the week. I know you touched on yours. Mine kind of comes from the game I just talked about. It's Bryson Williams from Texas Tech. He had 33 last night. 33 last night in the loss, double overtime, 14 and 19 from the field. Just absolutely phenomenal game. Great on the defensive end. Guy who was locked in all day for Texas Tech, and a team that I'm really high on. So that's my All-American of the week. Yours is from Missouri State. But if you got anything else, I'm good on my end over here.
Nope. Just a reminder, it's Isaiah Mosley. 21.1 points per game right now, and is on a scoring tear right now. I think he has to be on a tear for them to win, but still a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with our All-Americans of the week. Still pushing out daily NCAA and NBA and DraftKings lineups for you. I know we're actually getting some steam on Twitter. Trying to have
I'm so bad at this DraftKings thing. It probably shouldn't have been me.
It's
so hard. How did people do this?
Alex texted me last night. He went 0-3 a couple nights ago, right? And he texted me. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm done giving picks." I'm like, man, nobody's life or death. I was like, I'm not putting a house on every one of your bets, man. I was like, it's just all about getting some picks out there that you like. I use
the FanDuel Guru one tonight, and they're like Fred VanVleet, definitely a value pick.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, cool. And then it's like not playing.
Yeah. As of right now, I'm 162, 153, and 3 in college basketball picks this year, which seems like, okay, he's 9 games over 500, but with juice and losing, I'm down $380. Not to get, if my parents are listening, everything's fine in my finances, mother and father. We're all good here. But just that's the way betting works. That it seems like, yeah, I'm over 9 games over 500. I should be up money, but you're not. So it's one of those things like you try to find value plays. I try to win every day that I can. There's some days I go 1-5. There's some days I go 6-1. I try to give out as many plays as I like. Does it mean I bet every single one of them? No. And that's where you have to differ on if it's a good night or a bad night. But that's where we're at. Just trying to pump out as much content for you guys. I know it's getting closer. With the Bengals run, I was talking, to people today that the Bengals are in the AFC Championship. This is the deepest we've been in our lifetime of football. So it's very weird that we're about to be in February and the Bengals are playing meaningful games as well as the NCAA tournament is a month away. So usually I'm locked into college basketball right now, but I think I'm a Bengals fan first before I'm a Carolina fan as of right now. I think most people are the same way.
I understand. Yeah. The fact that Xavier and the Bengals are both good right now is like kind of crazy. I know Xavier just lost to Marquette, but I'm not faulting for that. That's going to happen. Yeah, it's a good loss. So with that being said, we just want to get together and kind of talk about all the news with Chris Mack and the Louisville phenomenon. Got to a few different things. So thanks you guys for tuning in. I know it's a little later than we normally do the show. Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Again, I'm going to say this. I say it every episode. 5-star reviews on Spotify now are a huge thing for us. So please, if you have a few seconds, you don't even have to like type comments in. You literally have to just click on our show and click the thing and give us a 5, and that's all you need to do.
You can comment out if I give you a bad pick in college basketball gambling, you can tell me how bad it was. You can write
with
that
a 5-star review.
Yeah,
yes,
please do.
Exactly. So. Perfect. Awesome. Well, Taylor, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad we got this together tonight. We're going to wrap this up. Everyone enjoyed it. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.